For this week's class, we're going to go over some conceptual massing and starting to turn those masses into actual buildings with walls and roofs, and we're also going to look at some energy analysis on those masses. So last week we made this mass, or a version of this mass, in class. This week we're going to just focus on how to make these masses in a little more clear fashion, as they're a good way to start programming your building. You can do your stacking and blocking diagrams, or you can start drawing up floor plans, and you can work all that out. So just for now, I'm probably going to start trying to mass some buildings on this site, or just some shapes on this site, and I'll show you how you can do it. So I'm still in my summer solstice 3D view. I'm going to duplicate that so that I have just a plain old 3D view that we could just call 3D that doesn't have everything turned on when it comes to sun path and whatnot. And I can type HL or go down here to hidden line so I can see it just with its in hidden line mode without color. So with that, let's make a mass over here. So I'm going to go to my site plan. And on the site plan, we changed the way our line work is seen from the imported file. So we undid that in class. I'm going to actually duplicate this view, so I have a copy with that visible. And I'm going to switch back to the original site plan right here. And I'm going to go to Visibility Graphics, and we are going to turn off the imported file. So now we're just seeing what's actually modeled in REVIT. The other thing is, you can see that we can't see the existing building that we built. That is because masses are typically turned off in Visibility Graphics on every view. So if we go back into Visibility Graphics, and if you push the M button, it takes you down the mass. Just click that and turn it on. Say, yes, I would like to see that. You can see the shape of your building now. It's over here. So let's work on making some masses so you can see how they're made. We can do that in this plan or any floor plan or in a 3D view. For now, I'm just going to get started in this site plan view. And we're going to start off simple, and I'll show you how to go from simple to more complex. So if we go to the Massing and Site tab, do an in-place mass. Doesn't matter what we name it right now. So for this one, I am just going to make a box. I did that a little quick, but for one, we want to make sure we're drawing it on level ground. Here, let me just do that again real quick. When you get in here to draw the mass, and you click on this, that's when it's going to offer you where you want to draw it. So you can either draw on a face, or you can draw on a work plane. We'll say we're working on a work plane, and we're going to pick level ground. And we'll select the rectangle tool, and we will draw a rectangle. Now if I flip to the 3D view, the rectangle is actually slightly below ground because this is so high up over here. But I can still click on it because it's the only thing active. So now I can hit Create Form, and we'll create a solid form. And just like that, we have a little mass out on the site. You can see it's below ground, the base. You can see it's disappearing into the site. So that's one way to make a mass, where you make one shape and then you hit Create Form and it extrudes it for you. There's other ways to make masses, and I'll show you now. If I go back to my site plan. So you have two different ways when you're making one of these in-place masses. You can make a lot of shapes in one mass and then close it, or you can make a rectangle as a mass, close it, make another rectangle as a mass, close it, and those will operate independently. So they will not join together, but they'll be pieces of program that you can move around, which isn't a bad idea. For now, I am actually going to just keep building in this mass without hitting the green check mark, without starting over again. So now I'm going to create a slightly different shape. I'm going to use the ellipse tool, and we're going to make a little ellipse. I'm actually going to move it so that it intersects with, you want to select it normally, and then hit the move tool. It's not playing nice right now. There, just so they're intersecting slightly. And I'm actually going to duplicate this. You can use the copy tool and shrink it a little bit. And then I'm going to make sure I select this first and move that kind of into the middle. So now, if I select this, I could tell it to move to level 2, so that one's going to be a little bit higher. And I'm going to click on the 3D view. So we're seeing that upper ellipse. If I click on the right side here, I can actually use the move tool and make it even taller. I'm stuck to that geometry. Let's see what we can do about that. So now what I did, just so you can see again, is I reselected that ellipse, and when I clicked on move, it gave me the option to either constrain or disjoin. I'm going to disjoin, and that's going to let me move it up. That's just a little thing that REVIT does that sometimes, or most of the time, is annoying. So now, if I select both of these, so I'm just going to, my mouse here isn't working very good. I go to wireframe, so I just typed WF, went to wireframe, so I can click on both of them. You basically can start lofting 3D shapes by picking one, picking another, and then hitting create form. And this time it does not extrude, it actually lofts from one to the other. You can make many shapes and loft them into each other. So I'm going to switch to shaded view so we can see kind of what we have going here. And there we have the beginnings of some shapes. Since I made these masses in the same file, or I'm sorry, in the same mass, and I haven't finished it yet, you can now actually start joining them together now too. So on the Modify tab, if you click Join, you can select one and select the other, and you'll see they actually trim each other off. The information's still there. If I go back and do Unjoin, it'll come back. But I hit Undo, and I'm keeping them joined together. So what does that do for you? It gives you an idea of what you can start making, and it gives you, you can start to dimension these out. So one thing, just in file management, just when you start getting a big topography like this, and you are trying to work with the relationships of the other buildings, a lot of times it's easier to start simplifying some views for your own sanity. So I have just a plain 3D view here. We can always duplicate that. Oh, we can't do it in this, so I want to finish my mass first. And now I'll duplicate it. And what I can do in this one is I can actually rename it. Obviously you can name these whatever you want. I'll call this 3D no topo. And I will type VG So I type VG, or you can go to View and Visibility Graphics. And then I'm actually just going to turn off my topography. So now it's a lighter model. I'm doing this on a laptop, so it's a little slow, but it's a lighter model. It's easier to move around. It's easier to start really focusing on the relationships of the two. And then when you need to work on your topography, you can jump back to another view, or you can always turn it back on in this view. But don't be shy in making different views of what you're working on in order to simplify things. While we're at it, just to show you another trick, when these models start getting really big, and sometimes you just need a quick fix, you just need to say, I need to just focus on this piece, I need to get all this other stuff out of my way. You can come down here to the sunglasses, click on them, and say Isolate Element. And what that does is it'll isolate whatever you have selected so that you can work on it and get it where you want it. But you'll notice that there's this cyan color around the screen. That one's reminding you that you have things hidden in this view, so don't think that you're seeing everything. There's something hidden. So then as soon as you're done, you can click on the sunglasses and say Reset. Let me save project. And when you hit Reset, it'll all come back. You can do the same thing in reverse. You can select one thing and temporarily hide it. The temporary hide is if you just doing something quick and you want to bring it back. The permanent hide will hide it permanently in the view, and to do that you just click on something, right click on it, and do hide in view. And you can hide either the element or the entire category that's in. If you ever hide an element and then you want it back, it's not as easy to get back as the temporary hide, but it's not that hard either. You just come back and click on the light bulb. You'll see anything that's hidden. So we're seeing my topography is hidden and our our AutoCAD import. Click on the topography, right click on it, unhide elements, and then think for a second. I can toggle off the light bulb and it's back. Alright, so let's talk about some things that we can do with masses once we have them made. So going back to my 3D no topo, I'm actually also in this view going to just hide my existing building. So we're just focusing on the mass that we have made. So a few things. If we go to a north view, again, there's a lot of things in this view. It's probably good to simplify even in this. So I'm going to type VG, go to imported categories, and turn off the AutoCAD file. So again, I am just seeing the topography that we're cutting through with this elevation and our buildings, one mass and two mass. So one thing to notice is we built this on the ground floor level. We have a second floor level, and then we don't have anything else. So just to show some things that we can do with the massing, I'm going to go to level 2, and I'm going to copy it a couple times. Just move it up a little bit, and I'm going to do that again. It's the copy command, move it up. And I'll show you why I'm doing that. So if I go back to my 3D no topo view, I again just have this building made. And what I'm going to do now is run a little bit of analysis on it. So I'm going to go to Analyze, and we're going to see if we can make a little energy model real quick. So when I just click on the mass, it drops me out of that, but that's okay because I'm going to just pretend like I have some floors in here. Click mass, and I'm going to say give me a floor at ground, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Okay. And you can see it masses in some simple little floors into our building. This is good for it if we think we're really making a 4-story building here. This is good just to understand the massing and how much floor area there is in there. So once we're in here, we can check out our energy settings. We've already located what this building is. So we now want to make sure that we're using the ground plane as a ground, and we should be a school. school or university. So with that, we'll leave this as rooms. We'll keep it simple with shading surfaces. We're just doing new construction. We're not including thermal properties yet. We'll just assign those. And for analysis mode, we're just going to use conceptual masses because that's all we have right now. And we don't need to tool around with too much other stuff. Here is your target percentage glazing. 40% of the exterior surface it's assuming would be glazed. Here's some basic assumptions of what the building is made out of. And for that, we'll hit OK. That just gets our assumptions. Click Show Energy Model. Again, I'm doing this on my laptop, so it's not the fastest thing in the world. But what it's doing is it's setting the model up for an energy calculation. These are quick. These aren't precise. We will do more precise ones down the road. But this is just a quick assumption to see where you stand with this mass that you just made. So this is very good if you're making different options. So there. Now it looks really odd, but I'll explain what it's doing. What it's doing is it's putting 40% of glazing on your building, and that's why you have the slots cut in there between the floors. It's assuming a sill height. It's also, the basic assumption is that all the rooms on the outer part of the building are 12 feet deep. Probably not accurate, but you can always come back and adjust that under energy settings. It's right here, core offset. But our core is going to be a lot deeper than 12 feet. But if you're comparing between different options, you can keep that the same or make it a little deeper to begin with. So what I'm going to do is just run an energy. If you don't have an Autodesk login, you should get one. They are free while you're in school. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to push the model out to the cloud, and it's going to run some analysis on the building we just made. Again, just to give us a little bit of feedback for these early shapes that you're working with. And again, feedback might say one building uses up more energy than another, one volume uses more energy than the other. So I'm just going to create new. That's really, there's no solar shading involved with any of this. So take it a little bit with a grain of salt, but it is good to try and understand why you're getting results with one shape over another. Is there something that you might be missing? Is there something that is modeled incorrectly? It's a good early test just to get orders of magnitude between one option and another. So I'm going to pause this and let this thing run a little bit through this, and then I'll come back with the results. So it seems like it's not doing anything right after you get it going, but if you click on results and compare, you can come in here and see that it is in fact working on something. there. So you can see it moving, and it's going to update and give you a little PDF report of where your building stands just as is. Again, not that detailed. It's a lot more detailed than it should be because you're not giving it that much information right now. But it's just a good starting point. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to let this thing finish, and I'll show you what the report looks like. Alright, so this gives you an idea of some of the results you can see once you run this analysis. So what it does, and this is all very basic, picks the closest weather station, states the rough amount of square footage of your floor area to the rough amount of exterior envelope. Then it determines, based on the selection of school or university, what the wattage per square foot is, what the amount of people might be in there. That's a little high from what we're doing, and what the normal fuel costs are. And then it just runs through, and it gives you a lot of very seemingly detailed assumptions based off very little information. So again, it is just a guide where you can do this for a couple different options, and then you can compare. You save these and you compare them to each other, and you'll be able to review the differences perhaps between your options. So with that, now I'm going to show you how to make some options before we're done. So you can always export this out, and it should save just as a PDF wherever you need it. And then you can compare it to your next option. So let's close this out, and let's click Show Energy Model and turn that off. So now we're back just to our little 3D model. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to make some design options. Design options are nice because they let you have a few different decisions being made in the project at the same time. A design option could be anything from the conceptual mass of your entire building to the location or shape of one wall in your building. So you can really make anything into its own design option. So before we do anything, what we're going to do is manage and design options. And we don't have any yet, obviously. So we're going to pick a new option set, and we can rename that to be the conceptual massing. And then you can make as many of these options as you want by just clicking New. And obviously you can rename them all to more specifically what you're working on. But what you do is then you hit Close, you select what you want to put in, go to Manage, and click Add to Set. It'll ask you which one to which set to add it to. You can actually add it to all of them. And what that does is it gives you a little base shape that you can work on. Now, it's going to get scary because you're not able to click your model anymore. See how I'm trying to click it, I'm trying to select it, I can't get it. That's just because we're excluding options. In the we're excluding options, which means you can't select any options. So if you want to work on it, you can just toggle to it here. And what that would do is, if you're in a 3D view, you can see you can select everything else, no problem, but you can't select your option. Once you toggle to your option, let's go to the primary, then you can only select what's in that option and not anything else. So what I'm going to do is go to option 2, and we're going to make some adjustments. You can make this a little smaller, make this a little taller. And you can just do some general rearrangements. I go into Edit in Place. I can come back and always edit whatever I want. I hit Tab, I can select one shape, not the other. Use the Rotate tool. You can even rotate it a little bit on the site. And now, just so you can see what that does when I finish the mass, I can now toggle between options like this, showing the different ones that we're working on without doing anything else in the project. So another good thing you can do with that is then you can start making views for each option. So we can duplicate this view, and we can rename it and call Axon Option 2, and duplicate it again, and rename it and call Axon Option 1. And what this lets you do now is, when I switch back, I'm going to switch back to the main model, get out of my design option editing down here. If I type VG and select the options I want to have shown, since this one's showing the primary, nothing's going to change for option 1. But for option 2, since this one is not the primary, it will change. So now you can also just have 3D views, each is showing different options. You can put them on the same sheet right next to each other because they're two different views, and you can just keep working out your options. And the last thing I'm going to try and run through with today is starting to make walls and roofs and floors out of your building. So the last step would be applying walls and roofs to a mass so you can start making it into a building. With that, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go to option 1, and I can also show you with design options there's always a primary. That's the one that shows up in any view that doesn't have an option set to show. If you ever come and click on the main option set and say accept primary, it'll actually delete every other part of your option set and make that one the only one. It also delete any view that's associated with that option. So if I do that, I delete out all my options. I am just left now back in the main model with my mass. So what I'm going to do is show you how to add some walls and roofs to this. So we're starting to make a real model. So if you go to a wall, insert a wall. There's two ways you can insert walls. You can draw them in plan, or you can do a wall by face. So this is wall like where you draw with plan, or wall by face. And this only works on a conceptual mass or a generic or some kind of generic model. So you can see how right now it's trying to select walls. You can see in the type options that this is an 8-inch wall. So whenever I click, I am making an 8-inch wall. Oh, that one's tricky. Right wherever this mass is. So if I zoom in, since these two are layered right on top of each other, it's giving you a little pattern where the overlapping's happening. But those are actual walls now. And I could do the same thing with a floor or a roof. So roof by face, it's slightly different because this one you click on it and select, and then you click create roof. So it's 2 steps, so unlike the walls where you just click and you get a roof. So we have real walls and real roofs, and we can also add in real floors. So same way, find the floor by face, and we can select on these floors, including the one down there, click create floor. And if I go to my section box again, I used this last week, escape so I get out of that command, and I cut through this. Right now the mass is still in the view, so I'm just going to select it, filter, and I'm just going to temporarily hide these so we can see what's really there without the masses in the way. You'll see that you actually have solid floors and solid walls of your roof and your building. So this is a real same walls that you would use at any time making walls in Revit. These ones can be, you can come back and assign materials to them. You can come back and work through their type properties and what they're made out of. But that is how you start really making a building. So that's probably all we're going to get through for the class this week. And next week we'll go through building upon this, adding windows, doors, curtain wall, all kinds of items like that.